I don't understand why you would mess with someone who has power over your food. Hello, you beautiful curiosities, and welcome to day 2 of my 30 and 30 in 30. That's 30 things I've learned over the course of the 30 years I've been on this planet and presented to you once a day over the 30 days of April. My name is Kiri Callaghan, and if you haven't put together by now, because I've repeated the number so many times, I'm turning 30 on April 21st. Here on this channel, we love to celebrate learning, and I feel like this is a perfect way to celebrate my big 30. I don't really understand what the big deal about turning 30 is. Like, it's not very exciting to me, in my opinion. I was much more excited to turn 25, because then I could just be like, bah! I am a quarter of a century! And it sounds very like, you know, old world and Tolkien-esque, like I could be a dwarf or a hobbit or an elf or something like that. But now it's like, I am 5 years elder than a quarter of a century. It doesn't sound quite as impressive. When I was 25, despite the fact that I was 25, I was a quarter of a century, and it sounded very and awesome. And I know that really that hasn't changed, and age is just a number, but it's just, I don't know, it's weird. It doesn't sound as cool. I have to find a new cool way to say, I am this age. Or maybe I just won't care. On to the lesson. And the Lord did look upon the people and say, love thy server. I'm a firm believer that if everyone on the entire planet had to work in food service for like a year, the world would be an entirely different and probably better place. Working in any kind of customer service, I feel like, changes you as a human being, but there's something very special about when you work in food service. There's like a kind of PTSD. Only unlike real PTSD, you don't need a therapist and all sorts of mental health treatment because you've gone through a severe trauma. It's a different kind of trauma, but I don't really have a better term for it. Also, unlike real PTSD, this actually helps someone, not you per se. I mean, I do feel like it stops you from being a total douche nozzle, but more than anything, it helps everyone around you, and that's really what this lesson today is going to be about. So when I was in college, I worked as a barista in a Starbucks across from my school. And despite the fact that there was an art school literally like across the street, this part of Seattle had gone through a huge amount of gentrification in the past few years. And so in this little shopping center seems incorrect because then you sort of get this idea of a strip mall, and that's not what this was. This was a high-end clothing boutique, it was a Starbucks, it was a gym that I felt was too expensive for me to even look at, and Whole Foods, and then a really nice hotel, and a bunch of condos that were up around there as well, and this very like wedge-shaped weirdness, everything went up. And I don't know if I was a particularly prideful person before this experience, but it was definitely incredibly humbling because you can like coffee as much as you want. Now, admittedly, I'm from Seattle, so I'm a bit of a coffee snob, and I'm like, Starbucks' coffee is not really great. I go there for the tea. But also they had benefits and stuff, and that was good. Not the point. It doesn't matter how much you like coffee or whatever food you are helping prepare. There is something about working around it for 8 hours a day where it seeps into your clothes, into your skin, into your hair, in a way that despite the fact that you shower in steaming hot water or wash your clothes 5 times, the smell never really leaves. And the weird thing was, it didn't matter where you worked. I had certain shifts where I worked the register the entire time, yet end of the day, I still smelled like used espresso. There's this strange phenomenon of people who use the service industry who seem to think that the people in the service industry are in fact their servants. I scrounged the depths of my soul and my genetics to borrow from the amazing patience my mother possesses through this job, and I was kind, and I was always smiling and cheerful, and these people were the most entitled motherfuckers I've ever met. And it's not just that they were entitled, because I get it. Like, you did pay $5 for a coffee, so you should be entitled to it at least, being served to you properly, but Starbucks is really good about, hey, if we've messed up in any way, tell us, we'll fix it for free, and we'll do it like that. We were extremely fast and efficient, to the point where I'm not gonna lie, when I go to a Starbucks and they're slow, I get slightly antsy and panicky and anxious because I just see the line going and I'm like, should I jump behind the counter to help them? This is, oh God, they're gonna get yelled at. Someone's gonna yell at them. In just that one job alone, I was screamed at for not making an order properly when I even kindly offered, I will remake it right away. I was called every word for stupid and incompetent that exists in the dictionary. I had my tips stolen. I was treated basically like human garbage. And while it was miserable, I wouldn't change that for the world, because no matter how high up I ever get, like no matter what my salary ends up being, no matter if I ever take off and become fit, I will never be a dick to food service people, because I've been there. I've been in the trenches, and holy shit, no one deserves that. And they're probably having a terrible, terrible day without you, but they're forced to keep that smile glued on their face, bless their poor hearts. Also, if, human compassion isn't enough to get you to be nice to them, having been behind the scenes, let me tell you, a Starbucks bar, very open. Very open. You can see everything back there. Still incredibly easy to fuck with your food without you knowing it. So easy. It's insane how easy it is. Like, I don't understand why you would mess with someone before they give you your food, why you would call them names before they give you something that you are going to put in your mouth and consume. I had a friend who once spit into a cup and he had mono. I was always good. I didn't do anything gross. But I'm not gonna lie, even there were some times where someone really made me feel crappy, I gave that bitch decaf, because he does not need anything else to put him more on edge. And I'm not gonna lie, it was almost always a dude, except for one lady who really freaked out about her mocha. Just because someone works in the service industry does not make them your servant. They are not subservient to you. They are performing a task that you have hired them to do. That's it. Next time you go into a Starbucks or a restaurant or anything, be kind. Oh, be so kind. And the sad thing that you're gonna find is you might be the nicest person they talk to all day. That always breaks my heart. You can see their entire expression change when you genuinely ask them, how are you doing today? And when you smile and you're like, I'm fantastic, I'd love to hear about you, and you have a small little back and forth and you treat them like a human being, because shocker, that's what they are. And their whole face, they just change. And it's like, you made their day, which is awesome because you feel good inside, but at the same time, a little part of you dies, because you know that that was such a normal interaction, that should be so commonplace in their life, and it's not. And you know what? And I'm not saying you should ever do it for this reason, because that defeats the point. But sometimes, because I make such an effort to try to brighten that person's day when I talk to them, or at least make sure that they're reminded that they're a human being and I respect and acknowledge that, sometimes you get some perks. I'm not kidding. It's weird what human decency can actually get you. Love thy server. And in turn, they will love you. Or at least they won't spit in your food. Seems worth it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I will catch you tomorrow. Bye!
Find me still searching for someone to lead me. Can you guide me to the revolt?